This is a very exciting video, friends, because goal setting is one of my absolute favorite things. And to be fully honest, goal setting and planning is really what I use my bullet journal for. If you're new around here, hi, my name is Becca. I'm an elementary music teacher. I have a side hustle where I help elementary music teachers by providing them with resources such as, lesson plans, games, activities, that kind of stuff they can use in their class. And then I also help teachers who want to sell their things. So I have a lot going on with my full-time job and with, essentially two businesses, this YouTube channel where we hang out and we plan and do all the behind the scenes fun stuff. So it's very important that I keep on top of things, specifically my goals and making sure I'm headed in the right direction. When it comes to my goals, that is what I'm all about. It's just making sure I'm headed where I want to go so that I'm living life intentionally. So I'm doing that today by setting up these goal setting spreads. My bullet journal has been set up in a few videos. So there's like a main video that unfortunately the audio didn't end up very good. So I am so sorry about that. But that has most of the setup. These goal setting spreads are going to be a separate one. And then there's two more videos coming. One with the financial spreads, and then one that has more like planning, setting up my life kind of things that I ended up doing after I had done all of these other ones. So today we're just going to set them up and get started. I am adding some green paper to the front and to the back of these goal setting pages. And in the middle, you can see that I cut those pages in the middle to make it look kind of like a book. A lot of people like to do this with X-Acto knives, but I just did it with some scissors. As long as you're not super crazy about, it has to be super perfect, it's totally fine. So I just cut those out so it kind of makes like a book inside of this little area. And I like doing that in my bullet journal for related spreads because in my head, it just really helps me to focus and be like, oh, hey, all of these pages go together. So that's what we're doing here. Then I'm adding that green paper to the front and to the back just, as something fun to do, as well as because, again, it just kind of helps to distinguish the different pages, and because there's gonna be something different on the front and the back as there are in those middle pages. So it's all about how I can cue my brain to tell me, hey, this is what's going on, as well as because I'm gonna use this all year, and so I want it to look cute. It doesn't have to look cute, but I would like it to look cute. That's why we're here, right? Right. Anyway, so I am just adding that in with some double-sided tape. I have used every tape and every glue and every situation there is. And y'all, this Scotch double-sided tape is where it's at. That's what I have to say. After I got this green paper taped in, I'm just using this little corner rounder tool that I got off of Amazon to round the corners. And it just makes it so they don't stick out weird on the sides. To be fully honest, this is not the best corner rounder tool ever. It was very cheap, and you kind of have to have it at just the right angle to make it work. But again, it was very cheap, and so I'm just kind of it's whatever. Anyway, so corners are rounded. I'm now cutting down a piece of craft paper that's just from a little pad from Archer and Olive and rounding those corners. And I'm going to stick that in the front for somewhere to write on that green paper. So it kind of just, stands out from the green. And then it gives me those little dots to help me to write things, correctly and appropriately and not make things super huge or super tiny or anything like that. I'm going to be putting different things, like I said, on the front, in the middle, and in the back, which we will be talking about momentarily. For now, I'm just grabbing one of my favorite Castell Pitt pens and adding a line, and then I'm going to add the title to this page. This is one of the great things about doing these Dutch doors where you have the pages that are cut down inside of the other pages, because now you only have to have one title, and again, it just makes it all look like they go together. To write the title, I'm using this gold brush pen that is from the brand Zebra. They are known mostly for their highlighters, but y'all, these brush pens are amazing. They came in a whole pack of metallics, so it was gold and bronze and silver and I think even green and blue maybe, and there were a few colors, and I love them. They are really good. They are brush pens, so they're great for lettering, not as great for writing like this, but I have been absolutely loving them. They're great for larger areas that you want to fill in And specifically, as you can see, I am left-handed, and as a lefty, I have to say that they dry really quickly, which is usually the issue with metallic things, because if you're not left-handed, you may not know that anytime a left-hander writes, typically they immediately smear everything. Now, I have learned some tricks because I am a teacher, so like I write on the whiteboard and things like that. So I have had to learn some tricks to help with that whole situation, to not make my whole life a giant mess. But it is very important to me to have quick drying pens for that reason. And so it's really nice that these are very quick drying. Also, if you are left-handed, if you work from right to left, that will also help with the smudging issue. So you can see here I started drawing these little leaves in with the right, and then I'm going around to the left. This is just a quick little decoration. I like this one if I just need something quick and easy, and it ties it in with the rest of the bullet journal theme because I have kind of that green and the craft paper and the gold and the floral or the leaf, vine situation going on in most of my journal. So it just kind of makes it all, go nicely together. FYI, if you are wondering, that journal I'm using is from the brand Primrosia. I'm not gonna lie, it's some random brand I found on Amazon. I have never heard of it before, but I love this journal actually. I got it because all of Archer and Olives were out of stock and I had ordered the wrong size and it was just a whole big thing. So I got this one off Amazon. It came in 2 days and it's great. It has watercolor paper, so it's really nice and thick, so very few things bleed through. And then I also got those pens you see on the right, which we'll be using some of them in a little bit. And they have a brush pen on one side and a fine tip on the other, so not like a bullet tip like the Tombows, but like a fine tip, which is great for detail work. So here's one of the fine tips in action, almost, maybe. And so it came with it. It was like you could buy them separately or you could do a pack. So I did the pack, and I have the bullet journal that has the toucan on the front of it, and it's green, which is why I went with like leafy floral and green this time around. And then I got the fauna markers, which are the ones that came with it in the bundle from Amazon. I will link them down below, along with those metallic brush pens and anything else I can find that you may or may not want to use. Anyway, let's talk about what I'm actually writing in here, because that's the most important thing, although decorations are fun. So on the front page in that craft paper, I wrote long-term goals. Long-term goals are things that are exactly what they sound like. They are long-term. That means I am not planning to accomplish them this year. Instead, long-term goals are things that I am working towards far away. So for example, one thing that I would like to eventually do is I would like to move to a new house. Now our house is totally fine and I've been like redoing it and making it all cute. So I'm not against it, but I would like a house that has maybe a little more land because we have none. And so, anything would be a nice improvement, but just different things like that. And so on my list is I would like to buy a house in the next like 5 to 10 years. Again, we're not headed there right this second, but having that on my list that I can look at every day helps me to just remember like this is where we're headed, and knowing where you're headed makes it easier to figure out what I need to do this year, because what I need to do this year if I want to buy a house in 5 years is different from what I want to do this year if I want to buy a house next year, or if I don't ever want to buy a new house. They're like your goals change based on your horizons, and so I like to keep those like 5 to 10 year goals in that front cover so I can look at them. Next up on these little pages, I am putting spaces to write down my more in-depth yearly goals. So you can see it says like goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4. And for each of these, I am going into more detail about things I'm doing this year. So these are the things that like we are actively working on versus, hey, I might want to move one day. So in these, I have a space to write the goal, the why, because this is very important. It helps you to reconnect with like, oh, I actually had a reason for doing this and we actually need to do it. And then what I call needle moving tactics or needle movers. And those are the most important action items that are going to help me to hit those goals. So if I have a goal that I want to, hit a certain amount of subscribers on YouTube, I need to do that by making X amount of videos. Those could be habits or they could be one-off things. So it just kind of depends on what's going on. On that front page, I'm making a little cheat sheet so that I have all of my goals on one page so that I can quickly look at them, and then I can also open up and see them in more detail if I look through. Now on the back, I'm going to add a couple more things. So first of all, I'm going to add another piece of craft paper to match the original piece of craft paper. And this time, instead of long-term goals, we're going to write down just things to remember. So this is just a spot for things that inspire me, things to remember. And so I only wrote a couple down in this video, but I'll add more as I find inspiring quotes and thoughts and things like that. And, because sometimes going for your goals is great, and sometimes it's like, I really, really don't care today. But, you got to care, or it's just not going to work. So there you go. So that's what's going to go in the very, very back. Now, that last white page, you can see, does not have any of my goal information. I actually probably should have waited a little bit longer to make this setup because I was kind of eager, and I ended up with 10 goals instead of 6, but it's okay because they didn't all need super detailed information. But on that left hand page, I'm going to write intentions. FYI, I'm going to spell it wrong, so we're just going to ignore that, pretend it didn't happen. And on that page, I am going to write things that I intend to do. And this is kind of my like hierarchy of goals. There's like the long-term goals that are the really big ones. Then we have the things we're working on this year. And then I have things I intend to do this year. So things that I intend to do this year are things that I'm not actively like tracking. They may be more like wishy-washy, but there's only so many things that you can actively track. So like I have a money goal, so I'm working really hard on making a certain amount of products and making, a certain amount of money, sending so many emails, growing my email list. Like those things are all things I'm tracking in my goals, and I'm working really, really hard. And there's just a limit to how many things you can do with that. Things that are on my intentions page, however, which I don't write in this video, but I will just tell you a couple of them. So like one of them says, spend more time with people. Especially I want to have more people come over like for dinner to our house, because I like my house and I like people coming over for dinner and I like hosting, but we don't do it that often. And so that's something that's on my list for this year, but it's not like a checkable. I could have, if I really wanted to, and I could have been like, have this many people come over for dinner. But instead I was like, it's not that serious. It's just something I would like to do. So it's something I'm intending to do, but I'm not super crazy about it. Another one is more art, more journaling, more reading. Again, I could have made those specific goals, and I do actually have a reading goal. But instead, I was like, let's just, put these things down and just have it, written down that this is what I'm looking for, is just having a little more of those things and a little bit less of other things that are less fun. Another one is reading during dead time instead of being on my phone, like scrolling. And that's just, things I'm intending to do, but they're not anything that's like super, super serious. So that's kind of how I think of my goals. I often will make a bucket list as well. I didn't make one yet. I think I'm going to instead do like a 30 before 30 bucket list, because that's happening next year. We're not talking about it. So, bucket list items would be things that like I would like to do that are kind of more like one-off activities, but that aren't serious and aren't like big goals, like go to certain restaurants or, try different foods or, random things, make a Pinterest cake, that kind of stuff belongs on bucket lists, but they're not as important. So not all goals are made equal. And because of that, we need different things on different pages. And that's why we have this whole little goal setting packet. I'm adding some decorations to the right-hand page just to make it mirror the left-hand page. And that's just, a really easy way to make it look very put together and like everything's going where it should and everything matches. All right, next up, we're going to do a couple more pages. These pages are going to be super, super, super simple. I'm talking like no decorations, like simple. And it is nice to show, by the way, that like, hey, you can do really simple things with bullet journal. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy. So these pages are my planning pages, and really they're kind of more like my brainstorming pages for different aspects of my business. So I said at the beginning, I have a couple different things going on. I do teach full time. I have a business where it's called Becca's Music Room, and that's where I sell my lesson plans, and I have a YouTube channel, and I have a blog and an Instagram and email list and all those things that go along with it. That's my main side gig. But that is where I spend the most amount of time. So that's that BMR. I also help people to start doing that if they want to. And so that's called Becca's Teacherpreneur Academy in my head, the BTA. And that is a YouTube channel. And I have a few courses over there as well. I also have a Bible lessons store. So I teach Bible class at my church, and I have for years and years and years and years. And so I sell some of the things that I use for that in my store at Becca's Bible Class. It's not nearly as big because I don't spend nearly as much time on it, which is totally fine. And so because of that, it only had one page, as you saw. Then this YouTube channel is where I'm at right now. So this is Becca Davis Vlogs, and on here we talk more like planning, productivity, goal setting, behind the scenes. We do vlogs, we do some fun things like crafting and traveling and that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of a variety, but I will be leaning a little bit more into this channel this year. And so on the left hand page, I just added some space to write down ideas for different videos I might do. And then on the right hand page, I just wrote down each of the different months of the year so that I can write down anything that I specifically want to put up in a certain month. I have a harder time planning this channel out because one, it's a hobby, so it's frankly not as important as the other ones. Sorry. No offense. And then the other thing is that a lot of it is things I'm just doing. Like, this video is because I was already setting up my bullet journal. It's not something I'm doing like extra. So I do have a hard time with that, but I wanted to go ahead and add some things in there, and I currently have some ideas in there. And if there's something you want to see, let me know that down below. We can talk goals, we can talk productivity, any of those things. I went back and added a space to write like my plans and then my ideas for each of these different things. So for example, in my in this YouTube channel, I plan to post 2 to 4 vlogs every month, as well as we always have a coffee chat at the beginning of the month, which is kind of like our recap. And then I have plans to do a few other videos. And so then, like Becca's Music Room, I have a blog that goes out every other week. I typically have a video every week. Sometimes it's every other week. I have emails that go out twice a week. So those are the kind of things I wrote in plans. And then I just have space for my ideas. And it's really helpful to leave some white space in your bullet journal so that you have places to write all these things. So here's your little flip through of everything else. And if you want to watch more bullet journaling content, more goal setting content, then definitely hit the subscribe button because we've got a lot going on, and the financial spreads are coming soon, which I'm all about. Bye.